Hi and welcome to part one of our four-part series of videos to help you understand the theory behind the Organisational Change Capability Assessment tool. So that's been covered in this video. Part two is how to use the OCCA survey tool. Part three will cover how the results are used to create a narrative for change and plan interventions. And part four covers using the OCCA to continually support, realise and embed your organisational change capability. So in this first part, we'll just briefly explore the theory behind the OCCA. Maybe a good place to start in understanding Ebb and Flow's approach to organisational change and our approach to building the organisational change capability assessment is to understand what we mean by organisational change. When people talk about building people capability in organisations, they refer to terms such as organisational change, organisational development, strategic HR management, change management, and you can probably think of others such as culture change or culture management. But when you look at the definitions of these apparently different disciplines, they all look very similar. And this is not surprising, since before change management existed, the field most concerned with change was organisational development. But organisational development was seen as being preoccupied with sort of humanistic and democratic values. So change management emerged in the 1980s when pop management books started to become the rage, such as In Search of Excellence. And as people were looking for blueprints for success and quick fixes, as the severe economic recession hit the world in the 1980s. And one model that looked promising and gave this new discipline of change management or organisational change legitimacy was Lewin's unfreeze, change and refreeze model, which has been referenced in one of the first textbooks on organisational behaviour in 1979. So people ran with it, leading to a change management sort of end step arms race where change management experts produce models elaborating on Lewin's model, and the most popular of these is Kotter's 8-step process, published in 1996. I think in all cases what organisations are trying to do when they change is to adapt their human capability to meet internal and external ambitions, and this is the definition that we will stick with for our work. And this new discipline of change management and a movement away from robust research led to a movement built on shaky foundations. And at Ebb and Flow we have investigated over 20 claims made in change management theory and found many of them to be built on fictions rather than fact. And you can find out more about this Mythbuster series on our website blogs or in Ebb and Flow's LinkedIn company profile. So where do we go from here? In our research at Ebb and Flow, we think the most promising way to think of an organisation is as a complex system. Organisations are complex because there are thousands of interactions taking place amongst a diverse number of people, which creates feedback and learning, allowing organisations to adapt. So change is always happening in organisations because it is critical to sustaining an organisation's performance. We think of this as a human body with millions of changes in the form of chemical reactions taking place in order to keep the body stable, such as temperature, acidity levels, water balance, toxin levels, etc. Like the body, organisations are trying to deliver outcomes. The body is trying to stabilise temperature, and an organisation might want to deliver consistently high levels of customer service, for example. So the system forms patterns of behaviour to create outcomes, and these patterns of behaviour are determined by underlying structures. So for example, if people do not feel that decision-making structures are transparent and equitable, then they'll be less likely to adopt new ways of working, in this case to improve customer service. This results in an organisation that cannot adapt and meet customer expectations. And these structures in turn are built on mental models or assumptions organisations make about human behaviour. For example, leaders might think that they should make all the decisions and build a decision-making process based on this view, which in turn determines the structures, the patterns of behaviour, and so the outcomes. And all of this is based on a vision and a narrative of where the organisation wants to go and how it's going to get there. So if these are not aligned, you can imagine conflicts in the system. Managers want improved customer service, but how they are making decisions is impairing this, because employees feel that they don't have voice in how those services are going to be improved. Typically, organisations ignore this systems thinking approach and use a find and fix approach to understanding why things happen the way that they did. And this reactive approach to fixing behaviours or structures doesn't get to the root of the problem or give an understanding of how today's solutions can lead to tomorrow's problems, because the organisation is not learning how to change and leveraging that learning to adapt to external challenges. And this is the very essence of organisational change. So at Ebb and Flow, we've taken a more holistic approach to organisational change, trying to understand how different elements of people's experience of working at an organisation affect their capability to change. We build a framework around 16 robust constructs in organisational development and change, which we know from multiple sources of evidence are most likely to deliver change success. And the framework contrasts the perspective that people want to be treated as unique individuals, this uniqueness and drive to flourish, against their drive to belong to something bigger than themselves. And this is the vertical arrow here. And the organisations can only do things through how people are with one another, their state of being. For example, we know people are more likely to achieve if they have a sense of autonomy and trusting relationships with their colleagues. So these are accounted for here, trusting relationships here, which is built on ideas such as psychological safety. And this is the horizontal arrow. So thank you for listening to the first part of our process for building organisational change capability. The next video takes us through part 2, which explores how to use the organisational change capability assessment tool to measure organisational change capability. And don't forget, you can contact us at any time if you have any questions. Thank you.